Hello animators. Divided is by far my most popular series on the channel. It talks about a protagonist who battles his depression in physical form in a place in his head and wakes up to his problems occurring in real life. Now, is the idea plagiarized from Kazukoja's reality series? Of course it is. Does the series have its own motives and psychological facts behind it? It sure does. Divided talks about a real-life story that has personally happened to me. It contains a lot of psychology and metaphors that depict real-life events. It all connects into a story, and every action has a reason and psychology or metaphors behind it. You guys came up with a lot of different stories on what happened in Divided, but in this video I'll explain what actually went down. Warning, spoilers ahead. It's a well-known fact that Sean and Jessie used to be a couple. They broke up because things were not working out, Jessie left and Sean couldn't get over her. Sean developed a clinical depression disorder, which he fought for a while. The Gravekeeper represents Sean's depression. Sitting on the throne, ruling his mind, slowly burying all the hopes and dreams, making them less and less enjoyable for Sean until he's completely empty. Because that's what depression does. Sean is battling his depression daily. Every episode contains death scenes because you need to kill a part of yourself in order to live on. At the end, Sean wakes up to what he's seen in his dream, because depression is, quote, not just in your head, it's a real issue. The town is empty, but that is not true. In reality, the town is full of people, but Sean is too closed up and isolated to pay attention to them, because depression, duh. In part 4, Sean even says, I don't recall the streets ever being this crowded. But I'll get to why that is so later. Sean's depression issues are getting worse in part 2. It's taking control over his life, and even though it's poorly animated, it's the thought that is there. The battle goes along as usually, but at some point, Sean is seen protecting the tree. Depression at this point wants to help him, make him face the fact that Jessie is gone, face the pain that comes with it, and get it over with. But Sean can't handle it. He refuses to let her go, which is causing issues. That tree is a place where Sean and Jessie have met for the very first time. It used to be their favorite spot for hanging out. It's his happiest memory of Jessie, and the Gravekeeper, aka Depression, wants to take it all away. Sean takes a knife in the chest to protect the tree. Sean then wakes up to see Depression's sight in his room. That is obviously metaphoric, but it represents that depression is now causing major issues in his real life. It's not just in your head. You can't kill an idea. In part 3, Sean is standing on the bridge when they first confessed feelings for each other, having a depressive episode. He is on the verge as he can't stand it anymore. And no, it's not referring to suicide. Depression has taken all of good left in the world. The battle is intense. He is alone and helpless. The tree has burned down and Sean has lost all hope. He has fallen as deep as anyone can possibly fall. And that is when Jessie saw that. She saw that Sean was struggling and decided to help him. She wanted to end the relationship because it wasn't working, not destroy the man's life. And Jessie's help was definitely very helpful. But Sean, hoping for a second chance, was surprised to see Jessie, who just wanted to help with his depression, turn his back on him once again. Sean is then seen on the bridge, ready to leave everything behind. But his heart couldn't stand it and he died of a stroke. Oh, and also, hitting his head on the concrete there didn't help. That is where I initially wanted to end the story, but a lot of you guys wanted me to make part 4. And I saw potential to fix some gaps and give the story a bit of more depth. So I expanded it. Of course, the protagonist is literally dead at this point, so I couldn't have possibly continued the story without some form of hocus pocus going on. So when Sean dies, an objective point of view is shown. There are people rushing to see what happened and help. People that Sean was too closed up to notice before. In reality, people stormed to help and paramedics arrived to take Sean's corpse away. You know, because the man died. But the way Sean was living it was different. He was taken straight into the graveyard of his mind, where all his dead hopes, dreams, and happiness were buried, where he was also faced with his depression one last time. It tells him that it had wanted to help him.
You wanted to kill me.
I wanted to help you. I told you to let her go. I knew what's best for you.
Sean was stuck up at that time.
You don't know anything.
Not knowing what's about to hit him. Depression then kills Sean, who is sent to an alternative universe where nobody remembers him. Again, I had to do a little bit of hocus pocus to get the story on a solid point, but here we are now. Depression is now slowly making Sean's friends forget about his existence because they can barely recognize him anymore. Depression has changed him too much. Sean is now beginning to realize the damage done and tries to be more social with his friends again, who, as we said before, have lost touch for him. Then Sean comes across a character he doesn't interact with all that often. Stevens, the fruit guy. Now, since Sean doesn't spend every single day at the fruit stand, Steven doesn't know about Sean's depression issues and doesn't think he's changed. So they talk and Sean explains what happened. After mentioning depression though, Steven shows a whole different face.
Listen to me, kid. That was no dream.
He tells him the situation is serious and orders Sean to,
you gotta find this thing and kill it.
He is telling him to find the source of negative emotion and resolve it before it gets too late.
It's here, it's real, and it's after you. It's trying to erase you from existence. It's deleting every memory of you till you won't exist at all.
Steven used to be a depression patient himself, and he doesn't want Sean to go down the same route as he did. Sean naturally runs to Jesse's door to resolve these things and have a proper goodbye. There he only sees he has been replaced, which is another stab in the heart. At that point, Sean dies. Metaphorically, there's no turning back. He gets another stroke due to the emotional shock. What started out as a happy relationship is now ending in a very depressive death that would affect not only Sean, but all the people around him. Sean sees all the friends and family coming in to help, which is a very emotional time, but sadly depression is a pretty nasty disorder, and Sean's head is stuck between two thoughts.
I have people, and they support me.
And
Nobody cares till someone dies.
did the people only come to help because of the situation, or because they genuinely care about Sean? That triggered a huge battle in Sean's head, and at that point, he didn't want to fight anymore.
I've learned my lesson. Look at where violence got me.
He was no longer the tenacious boy he was before. He was wiser and changed. After that, he managed to defeat his depression, but the battle took its toll. There's a reason the battle took place in a graveyard filled with Sean's hopes and dreams that, by the way, got absolutely destroyed at the end. And the last thing, Sean's duty to stay at the graveyard. He physically hasn't gone anywhere. He is still among his friends and family, but staying on the graveyard forever is a metaphor for never being the same again. Depression has taken its toll. It might be over, but Sean is now changed forever, his formal self being dead to all the people around him. You know, on the graveyard. He hardly finds any joy in life, and he's living only to exist. At the end, Sean is taken back to his original timeline where he hit his head on the concrete. He is now observing the scene before he's taken into the afterlife. He gets a goodbye with Jesse and then leaves the realm forever. Now, because of Sean dying at the end of episode 3, I had to do some hocus pocus and create two timelines. One where he's dead, and the other where he tries to reach out to his friends, fix his depression issues, realize he's been replaced, gets another stroke, and stays damaged and dead inside for the rest of his life. Whether or not he actually said goodbye to Jesse or just imagined it, I'll leave it for you to decide. Now, as for Stevens being a depression patient, who was struggling with depression himself, didn't fix his issues in time. Depression has gone too far and left unmanageable damage. He is now living an empty life, wearing a happy mask hiding his misery. Depressing. So Divided was a project in which I wanted to raise awareness about depression. Used to struggle with it myself, it's pretty nasty, it's better now, but it's a real issue. If you know anyone who's struggling with depression, give them a hand. It's not that hard, and they'll probably be grateful. So that is the actual story behind the Divided quadriology. If you haven't seen the Divided series yet, click the eye in the corner. I promise you will not regret it. Hopefully you enjoyed both the animation series as well as this explanation video. Now thank you all for watching, and stay sharp.